We're back with the first Q&A of 2023. Can you believe it? Man, time flies. Wow. What was that intro? I just like the Q&A videos where I kind of get to talk about other topics I don't usually hit in regular videos. I get the questions from you guys in the comments of this video. So I'm taking these questions from the comments section of the previous Q&A video from last month, as well as questions from YouTube membership members and Patreon members. Thanks for having my back. Got a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's just roll in. The first question is from Matilda G. William, if I'm saying that right. Shout out to them for having my back for a while. Last of Us, HBO show. What do you want to see? Hope you don't see. This is interesting because it seems like for the first time in a while, it looks like they're going for a real straight up representation of the game. From the costumes to a way a lot of the characters look to even the sets and stuff like that. It seems like they're straight up just replicating the game. And I mean, so far so good, I guess. We've only seen the first episode. I did a video on that. I'll link in the description, but I kind of just want them to do that well and justify it. Now, by justify it, I don't just mean like appease fans of the game, but I mean justify it by like making the whole thing good enough for the average person to also enjoy it. HBO is betting big on this. So I just kind of want to see them, like they clearly believe in the Last of Us story. So I just kind of really want to see them do it right and spread the message of the Last of Us and understand what makes it such a big deal for players. Does that make sense? But on the flip side, I am excited to see filling in the blanks. I like that type of stuff. I think there's a lot of room for opportunity there in terms of just expanding things. It's a show. There's probably going to be more stuff. There's probably going to be some background stories. It already seems like they're alluding to highlighting more of Bill's story, which I think is pretty cool. I want to see what they can do with that. I'm really genuinely actively looking forward to that. There's nothing in particular I don't want to see in the show other than them just like, I don't want to see them screw it up. Also, no, I don't want to see a CGI giraffe. Get a real ass giraffe. If I've pet a giraffe at a zoo in my lifetime, you can get a real giraffe. Graham Gilmore 42 asks, hey Jake, just wondering what you do to unwind during the holidays. Do you catch up on games you haven't played, or you take a break from gaming and do other things like practice saxophone? Is that a callback to another Q&A video where I said I played saxophone in high school? Yeah, man, to unwind, usually during breaks, I catch up on a lot of games that I didn't get to during the main season of work gaming throughout the year. But this year I did a hard, like cold turkey reset, took a break from video games. I know that's like devastating to hear, but I needed it. I needed to kind of just stop for a second, stop staring at screens. I went outside a lot. I went on like a hike or two. I've been into like touching grass a little bit, but I did play one game. I played through the entirety of the original WarioWare on Analog Pocket, you know, the Game Boy Advance game. And that was great. I had so much fun. Just pure, unfiltered gaming at its finest. And I loved every freaking second of it. Urban Spelunker says, is there a fictional world or character that hasn't been made into a game yet, but you think should? I want to see cartoon stuff get more love. I don't know why the first thing that came to mind for me was Tintin. I'm not even like super big on Tintin, but like the movie was sick. And I think that type of pulpy adventureness, like an Indiana Jones even type of thing, would be cool and translate to video games. Really, cartoons in general. I'd love to see cartoons get some love. Make a Flintstones game. Like you might think I sound insane, but like I don't know. There's just something about the zany energy to old cartoons, even like, you know, Bugs Bunny or something like, or Roger Rabbit. Let's do a game that has realistic graphics in a real city, but then there's also cartoon characters running around. Something like there's just something about the energy behind cartoon characters, classic cartoon characters that I love and I think can work really well for games. We've seen it a little bit, but like bring that shit back. Also, Batman Beyond. Big surprise from me. But a lot of people want a Batman Beyond movie, and sure, at one point maybe, but I think it would work better as a game. I think they could do some really cool shit. Also, a flying Batman just would be fun to play as. Sleipnesk8, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, asks, what's a feature or a mechanic you love in an otherwise mediocre game? All right, deep cut here. The one that I always come back to is, two things, kind of from like the PS2 era. The first is extermination, and your character just kind of slowly getting infected by this growth virus that's coming, and you like see it on his body. It's a very cool kind of survival horror-esque mechanic. I like that type of body horror stuff in games, but also the cover system from a game called Kill.Switch. I was in love with just the third person take cover mechanic from that game because I loved the idea in a game of going up against the wall. It was very cool. Metal Gear Solid, couple of Headhunter. You got to do it in games, but Kill Switch got it right and kind of set the groundwork for how we'd see it in stuff like Gears of War, the snap to cover, lean out, blind fire type of thing. It absolutely blew me away. It was otherwise just like a weird game where you're just gruff soldier man shooting guys. But that cover mechanic was so much fun. Experiencing that for the first time was incredible. A couple years ago, I actually got to meet one of the developers that worked on that mechanic. And I just was like, thank you. That was so sick. Oh my, I love you. I totally fanboy out sometimes. I can't help it. But next up, The Sean's 2007 asks, what are your honest feels on the day before? The day before is interesting. My feels right now are not great, specifically because I know a lot of people had issues leading up to this, but for me, it was really just the newest trailer. We got a glimpse at the game. It was kind of like an NVIDIA RTX trailer. It's a brief trailer, but what we saw just didn't look great. It looked like another boring, uninspired DayZ clone. And I've been tired of those since DayZ pretty much. And the original trailer for that game was such a big dick swing, pardon my French, with this like cool Division mixed with the Last of Us style MMO RPG where you're running around a city like a New York City, you're looting, you're engaging with other players MMO style, you're fighting off zombies. It was gritty and real. It seemed dope. And then compared to that, what we've actually seen now of the game, seems like a pipe dream. Even the New York City that they built, like some of the images, I was like, really? Is that what they're doing? It looks like they played Grand Theft Auto 4 and went off of that, which there are some parts of that game, I've talked about it before, that nail New York City, but there's a couple of parts that are jarringly weird, and it seems like the day before is taking specifically from that. That's a very specific nitpick criticism. Some of you might not even get where I'm coming from with that, but overall, yeah, it just seems like it's not as hot as it initially seemed it may have been. Game ranks, we talked about it back when it was first revealed. We were pretty excited about it, but that's where we're at now. I'm still going to check it out, but whew. Super Home Run, thanks for having my back, asks, given his recent comments, he's willing to do another one. What would you give up to see Brendan Fraser in another Mummy movie, and what do you want the story to be? That's tough, man. Brendan Fraser is back. I've been beating that drum forever. Look it up. I've been tweeting. I've been posting about Brendan Fraser. It's not like a fad. It's a lifestyle. But as a huge fan of him, I'm happy he's getting a lot of recognition now. And he has gone on record in an interview that he is willing to do another Mummy. Of course, why wouldn't you? I think for me, the thing I worry about is that the Mummy felt like a lightning in the bottle. Lightning in a bottle. You know, like it was like a perfect storm. The music, the elements, the vibe of it, the mix of practical and early CGI effects, Brendan in his prime, Rachel Weisz. A lot of things, man. But like, I just think like it couldn't hit like that today. It would have to be so I don't know. But I've said this before with a lot of things, like even the Metal Gear movie or other, where I'm like, I don't know if I want that, but like what I can very much feel like I don't think we need something, but I'm also willing to show up and give it a try. Am I part of the problem? I don't know. But if there was a Mummy movie with Brendan again, I'd go see it immediately. It's hard. He's 55, I believe, now. He's still got the chops. I think he's still probably got a lot of that timing. He's a charming dude. I'm just kind of sick of okay, the older characters are now gonna shepherd the younger generation to do it. Like, oh, he's gonna teach some young mummy hunters. I don't know. I'm kind of tired of that. It feels like a trope now, but it is one where I feel like they could drag back Emotep one last time, and it would actually feel fairly compelling because like that just feels like an eternal grudge match. But I don't know. I've talked about the Mummy too long. Oh, I have a VHS back here. Have you guys ever noticed this? This is in the box, in the plastic still. Love you. Hey, now, next up, before we keep going, today's video is sponsored by Native. This deodorant right here is the deodorant I actually use on the daily. I've tried a lot, but this has been my go-to. And when they reached out for a sponsorship, it just made sense. It's good, solid, aluminum-free deodorant that smells great and works good with my weird armpits. But ingredients-wise, it's like I said, aluminum-free, also paraben-free, vegan, cruelty-free, just simple and effective ingredients you actually know, like coconut oil and shea butter, for odor protection all day with 72-hour protection. And for example, the sensitive variety I use every day is made without baking soda and with coconut oil and magnesium oxide. It's not sticky and feels dry while applying. And of the sensitive varieties we have here, coconut and vanilla is my favorite because it smells like something I would want to eat. Don't eat any of this. They have a bunch of other products like lotions and body washes, and they're always changing up their scents, like with their upcoming candy shop collection. So there's a bunch of fun stuff. If you want to jump in, 3 deodorants will come in at $39, but if you use my link and my code on Jake, you'll get them for $26. That's over 33% off. And with my code, you can get 20% off any body wash or lotion. So check it out. Click the link in the description below, and big thanks to Native for sponsoring this video. Nerdcentric, thanks for backing me, says, people have said for a long time, pre-orders are ruining game launches. Do you agree? I don't think they're ruining game launches. I think that, I don't know. I just don't pre-order. I really have never advocated for anybody to pre-order. I've only ever pre-ordered if I knew it was a game that, even if the game got reviewed and it got a 5 out of 10 somewhere, like, and I still really was like just down to play it, that's when I would pre-order. Like if it was something that I was just such a hard lock guarantee for. Anything else, I don't pre-order. Every once in a while it's tempting. Pre-order bonuses can be kind of cool sometimes, but like I'm just not into that life. And I don't necessarily agree with the line, like, or the narrative that like the pre-orders themselves ruin the game launches or affect the development in some way. I don't believe that. I just think, like, unless it's like your thing. If you're a diehard Metal Gear Solid fan, you're gonna pre-order the next Metal Gear Solid. That's fine. Anything else really, just like a normal game that you're interested in, I've always been like, okay, don't pre-order, see how it drops, read a review, do whatever, then plunk down money for it. The Hawk Diesel says, Jake, as a fan of Batman and Spider-Man movies, I'm curious to hear what villains you'd love to see in a Batman movie or Spider-Man movie. All right, let's go. So for me, for Batman villains, obviously Mr. Freeze. That's like the most basic answer. I've said that before. But it's a good, you know, there's so much they can do with that. But I think if like Batman is going to keep being gritty and grimdark and real, I think it's about time they start having some villains that really reflect that, can really go hard on that. Professor Pig, the ventriloquist. I think like they can do some weird, darker shit. The Mad Hatter, and again, I've talked about this in other Batman videos. Like really go into the whole the psyche, the mental thing with Batman. The movies like to like tiptoe around that stuff, but really go hard on that. Have Hugo Strange test him. Have a Joker test him in a new way. I don't know. The best villain a Batman movie could do would be Bruce's own mind, but that's just me. In terms of Spider-Man, I'd love to see the Chameleon get represented. The Chameleon doesn't show up enough because he's like just short of the Sinister Six. I think he was in the Sinister Six for like a minute. The Chameleon is just an underrated and cool character, and I think for like Spidey's problems, for Peter Parker problems, somebody who can change into anybody else can just really fuck up his life, and I've always loved that. The Chameleon has some really cool art. He was like also like one of Spider-Man's first villains. I think _1, he was the villain. He also had a cool arc, the Chameleon Conspiracy. There was one where he switched places with Spider-Man. There's ones where he switched places with Jameson, and then there was this whole arc with Jameson, like a deep cut there. And there was this one I really liked in the late 90s where it was like the Chameleon dragged Peter Parker into a showdown on the bridge where Gwen Stacy died, and it was cool. Chameleon's tight, bring him back. Now, Switz asks, I'm curious about your take on YouTube as a platform for new creators. Whenever I put up a new video, it always feels like an uphill battle to get my stuff out there, even when I think what I'm making is pretty decent. Any good advice for fighting your way up the algorithm and finding an audience these days? So for me, this is a hard question, and I often avoid some of these questions because I'm realizing now I've been doing this a very long time, like a really long ass time in the grand scheme of things. And it was very different when I first started and started to at least get some traction. It was a totally different way of doing things. Now you are right with what you say, the algorithm and that type of thing is the main game. I think ultimately at the end of the day, your thing you're making can still be whatever the hell it is. You should absolutely love it and take pride in it and make something that you would want to see, and ultimately, definitely that means somebody else will want to see. That will absolutely help. A good thing always still seems to be a good thing, but it's just the fact that like you have to play the game. You have to really dial in the title and the thumbnail. That's what gets you the traction the most now. It sucks that that's the game you have to play. You don't have to clickbait or anything like that, but you just have to think long and hard about an image that somebody will find intriguing. A way for somebody to click on this thing, an interesting title. I think there's no shame in jazzing up a title or a thumbnail, going hard, as long as you don't mislead. And it's hard, but if you're starting out, I think and it helped with me back in the day, but like collaboration still can definitely help. If you're smaller, I know you're not going to be able to just like get in with a big guy unless you're lucky, but collaborating with other creators like on your level, on your playing field is not only fun, you'll learn more, but it's kind of like the rising tide floats all boats type of metaphor. I'm kind of scatterbrained with this one. I should have prepared a little bit more, but I would just say yes. Think about the algorithm, do some research on keywords, descriptions, titles, thumbnails, and stuff like that. But don't lose sight of the thing you're making. You say the thing you're making, you're finding pretty decent if you're happy with it. Ultimately, it's all those other factors that have to get that thing out there. But the bottom line, at least the thing that you should pat yourself on the back and focus on, is the fact that once people do see it, once their eyeballs get in front of it, they're gonna like what they're seeing. Does that make sense? Okay, let's get this one right. Laz Hayward Fisharzada. I'm so sorry for butchering that, but thank you for the question. I have always wondered if you have ever had that you didn't get a review copy from a studio because you had a bad review on one of their games. I personally have not, and from my experience and with some of my colleagues, you can review a game poorly. You can say you didn't like that game and the company sees it and it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, and they still will send you their next game. It's awkward. I've done it. Like I like even like I don't know what the newest thing is that I didn't like, Saints Row, where like you'll communicate with a PR person and it'll say, "Hey, here's the game." I say, "Okay, cool, thanks." Play it, make a video, put the video out, and then just as like a courtesy, you email that person back and say, "Hey, thanks to access to the game, here's the review we put out." Which is me being like, "Here's the review we put out." It's me trashing the game. But it's all professional. No one cares. I mean, I've heard here and there, sometimes people get a little pissy with it. Some people have gone on record about being blacklisted, but I've never really faced issues. The majority of my colleagues haven't really faced issues. The thing I deal with more is just the whole concept of getting review copies and speaking to developers and PR companies and stuff is annoying, and it's a mess, and you never know who to talk to, and it's totally scattershot, and you might get a review copy for the biggest game of the year, and then one company will just never email you back, not because they hate you, but because they're just bad at email. I don't know. It's annoying. I just want to play the games and talk about them. More often than not, I just end up buying the game anyway, but yeah, that's a little insight into how that stuff goes down. Bruno asks, "Hey Jake, I'm new to your channel. Thank you for being here, and I really love your videos, and my question is, what is a game that you didn't like as a kid, but you love it now?" Okay, here's a controversial one. I was a little bit shittier when I was younger, and I played like console favorites here and there. And there was a time where my cousin had Nintendo 64, I had PlayStation, and I just convinced myself that I didn't like Mario Kart. I had very much been on my own train thinking that like Crash Team Racing was better, and like, I mean, the boost slide mechanics in Crash Team Racing is amazing. But now as an adult with friends, somebody will bust out the Nintendo 64, play some Mario Kart, and then obviously the newer ones. I like them a lot. I love them. I play them, and it's something I totally warmed up on. Like, it's just a weird example. I kind of wanted to point out that like I had some console war tribalism for a second. The other thing that I didn't like as a kid that I like now is not a game, but it's a program, Steam. There was a time when Steam felt like annoying bloatware that you had to put on your computer in order to play like the Orange Box or play Half-Life or whatever collection thing. And it was like this annoying launcher thing that like if you were a dumb little kid like me, you were just annoyed by. And that's so funny now because Steam is what it is today. B-Bear Gaming asks, what's your opinion on Henry Cavill returning as Superman? Oh, this question was asked a month ago. Oh, how things change. I like Henry Cavill as Superman. I am not like mega super Zack Snyder Spider-Verse. I'm not super Zack Snyder DC Universe guy. I like bits of it. I really like Man of Steel. People make fun of me. I really, really like Man of Steel. I understand the criticisms in terms of the representation of Superman. I do like a more like positive, uplifting, classic style Superman. But that being said, I still thought what they did there with Krypton, with Zod, with Superman himself, with the fights, the violence, the music, it was good. It was really cool. I still think specifically that like of the Zack Snyder created DC things, that's the best, man. I think he's a really damn good Superman, but like we barely got to see it. Like Man of Steel was kind of him sort of becoming Superman. But like then, you know, Batman versus Superman was dealing with that whole plot thing. And then Justice League, he's dead for a lot of it. So you never really got to see him in like true form Superman. I think it would have been really good. And I think it wasn't just a Zack Snyder thing. I really think any director could have taken Henry Cavill as Superman and made some really cool shit. And I think he would have been down for anything. That's part of the thing, is that you love to see people that really want to be there. And like, obviously all actors want to be there. It's their craft. But like as a weird nerd guy who's very publicly a nerd, you know, you just love to see somebody who is so down to be there. And now that's not happening. So that whole situation seems unfortunate and shitty, but I'm excited for them to just wipe the slate clean and try again. Matthew asks, what would you like to see from the Order 1886 sequel? Personally, I'd like big open areas like Uncharted Lost Legacy, longer story, and more monsters. Yeah, number one, longer. Absolutely. I think the Order 1886 should be the Order 1887 and take place right after, because that game ends with you just really wanting more, with Galahad being more badass, and the fact that vampires exist. So I want like vampire hunting. I want more foggy, gritty London streets. I don't really want an open world game. Lost Legacy style open-ish areas is fine, but I want a boring old linear corridor-based game, damn it, because sometimes I just like them simple and cool. But yeah, I'm pretty much with you there. More monsters, longer game, but also like that world they were building, I'd love to learn more about like what's it like in North America, what's it like in Asia, you know? What kind of monsters are they fighting? Do they have their own cool league of like ancient dudes that are fighting? I don't know. Oh, Hugo Rosales asks, which collector's edition means the most to you? Or what would your ideal collector's edition be? So the two that always come to mind for me that I just really loved aren't super old or anything, but it's Max Payne 3, that statue of him in the gray suit, them kind of like looking at his gun, is the sickest. I have it somewhere. I actually don't know where it is. That's not good. Shit, where is it? Fuck. So I got to figure that out. But yeah, I really always loved that one. It was a specific, like I was just obsessed with Max Payne. Max Payne 3 was when I started to kind of write and kind of talk about video games. So it was like it was like my first PAX convention. I got to go see Max Payne like at the booth, like, and everything. Like I was really excited. I got a t-shirt. So like I just have those memories around it. But also the collector's edition for the Elder Scrolls Oblivion was dope. The box was really cool. It came with a coin. Times were simpler, but yeah, I just really love the box. It's like a stupid thing, but there's just something about it. I can still like remember how it felt. Like I don't have it anymore. I probably traded it in like a broke little dumbass, but yeah. Also, there's always a bunch that like I missed out on that I was like, oh, I wish I got that. Like I really wish I got the original Last of Us one. That statue for that collector's edition was dope. But yeah, I've talked a lot about games. I could talk more, but I got to stop for now. You guys have had enough of me. So thank you for your questions. Of course, leave more Q&A questions down here for me for the next video. Thank you for all of these. Thank you for listening to me just hang out and talk about games. I'm just talking about what I love here. So hit me with questions. Also, let me know what you think about my spicy hot takes. But I'm Jake Baldino. Let's onward to 2023. Thank you for watching. See you guys next time. Subscribe because video games, pizza's on me.